Kia ora, I'm David Chester with 90 at 9, brought to you by interest.co.nz. This week at everything you need to know in 90 seconds at 9 o'clock with news. Global trade is in the spotlight today. The run of dairy price rises ended in today's global dairy trade auction. Overall prices fell 0.7% in US dollar terms, down 1.2% in New Zealand dollar terms. The key whole milk powder price fell 2.7% in it, in a major shift, but one signalled by the weekly GDT Pulse events, although today's price was actually higher than last week's Pulse result. Keeping the dip limited were rises for skim milk powder, up 2.3%, and cheddar cheese, up 4.5%. These two suggest better demand from the food service sector, especially in China. In the US, the logistics managers index rose, and quite sharply, indicating rising demand for these key distribution services, although freight rates actually decreased in this survey. Meanwhile, the US September trade result for both goods and services came in with a modest but continuing deficit. Last week, overall retail sales gains evaporated. Their weekly Red Book index of retail sales at bricks and mortar outlets on a same-store basis was up only 3.1% from the same week a year ago, barely beating inflation. Although, to be fair, much of this was an unusual rise in last year's base. In Canada, September exports there rose 2.7% to their highest since June 2022, and the third consecutive monthly increase. Imports rose just 1% to their highest since January. That meant they recorded a $2 billion surplus, twice what was expected. And the IMF has been reviewing China's economy and now says it will expand 5.4% in 2023, up from an earlier forecast of a 5% rise. Most of the extra is down to Beijing support initiatives, they say. For 2024, they say China will expand 4.6%. And staying in China, exports fell a sharp 8.1% in October from September, to be down 6.4% from a year ago. Meanwhile, imports fell 1.4% from the prior month, even though they were up 3% from a year ago. As the West de-risks from China, as exports are down 15% to the US, down 10.6% to the EU, and down 8.6% to Japan, clearly selling more to Russia, which was up 52%, isn't going to save them. In Australia, and in an about face, the Reserve Bank of Australia is no longer standing on the sidelines as inflation turns back up. It has pushed through a new 25 basis point rate hike to 4.35%, and markets are thinking a December rise may come too. And the US Treasury 10-year yield is down from yesterday as bond prices rise again, now at 4.57% and a drop of 8 basis points. And the price of gold will start today at $1,964 an ounce. That's down another $18 from this time yesterday. And oil prices have fallen overnight, down a very sharp $3.50 to be just under $78 a barrel in the US. The international Brent price is now just over $82 a barrel. And these are 3.5-month lows. And the Kiwi dollar starts today at 59.3 US cents and down 0.5 cent from this time yesterday, dragged lower by the Aussie dollar. Against the Aussie, though, we're slightly firmer at 92.3 Australian cents. Against the euro, a little change to 55.5 euro cents. That all means our trade-weighted index starts today at just on 69.1 and down only 10 basis points. Get more news about the New Zealand economy from interest.co.nz. Kia ora, I'm David Chaston, and we'll do this again tomorrow.